Hi, this is fourth in our series on HRD Missionary, specially meant for certified HRD auditors batch 6 onwards for CIPM Sri Lanka. The first three focused on various aspects of HRD Missionary. In this one, I would like to focus on the new role of HRD in post-pandemic era and AI-driven era. Last 6 years have seen phenomenal developments in our society. The pandemic has thrown most of us out of gear and we have learned new things, particularly working from home or working from anywhere, reducing the jobs that have to be done from offices only, and taking care of the physical and mental health of most of the people and so on. There are lots and lots of changes. Family has come into the new focus of employee welfare. Individual, both physical and psychological health had become important. Just 3 years after the pandemic, so many developments have taken place in artificial intelligence. I think today we are in a totally different world, and every now and then we hear that routine tasks are being taken over by AI. Many of the administrative tasks are being handled by computers. This resulted in certainly job reduction in some places, particularly in those places where routine tasks are in high number and magnitude, which now are done very well by computers with more reliability and high speed. However, this has also created an opportunity and the need for being more human. AI is a technology intervention. AI is meant to serve people. When AI creates issues in the lives of people, it is HR that comes to the rescue. In fact, AI should be driven by people orientation, HR orientation. In this changed world, post-pandemic and with artificial intelligence taking over, and of course there is geopolitical situation across the world where leadership changes are constantly impacting the culture of a nation as well as the life in a nation and so on. We will not deal with some of those because it is far beyond the scope of a HR professional working in organizations. However, today's HR professional working in organizations, I'll still call him or her as a HR missionary. The HR professional has to be a lot more in mission-driven purpose. And today, I think the role has become a lot more complex. I would like to highlight 3 or 4 most important roles that have changed and that probably have to be incorporated into the role of HR professionals. Of course, the non-negotiable first role always remains that HR professionals have to be business-driven. Everything that they do has to be linked to business because it is the business which earns the living for all the employees whom the HR serves. So HR now has to be focused quite a bit on the employee welfare. Unless you have competent employees and committed employees, you will not be able to achieve much of productivity or value add for the company. Companies can't run profitably. So this continues like before. However, there is one interesting change. While HR always had to be employee driven, in many countries and in quite a few organizations, it has been found that rarely HR was employee driven. More often, it or the functionaries had been employer driven because it is the employers that dictated the terms. But today we realize, it's still employers dictate the terms, but employers post-pandemic have realized that if you don't have motivated employees, and if you don't have employees who are competent to do a job, and timely availability employees doesn't take place, then you can never achieve anywhere near the goals that you have set out for yourself. The most top management, employers and investors realize this. That is why HR therefore has to be employee focused. But if you have to be well focused on employees and aligned with the organizational goals, more important than being focused on employee is the customer whom the business is supposed to serve. Banks and financial institutions, insurance companies, hospitals, hotels, government, you take any organization, including those which are in the manufacturing as well as providing services, all of them have a single most important objective of serving people. The forms are different, but ultimately the customers are the focus. So if you have to serve the customer, it is the employees who serve the customer. I think HR has a very challenging role to play in terms of ensuring that they understand the customer needs, and what works with customers, what doesn't work with customers. So they cannot anymore say, I am only interested in employees. If I understand my employees better, that is good enough. I think it is very important to say, because your employees are working for the customers, and your entire human resource development interventions are focused on enabling your employees to serve the customers. And if you don't understand the customers, how can you serve your employees? Therefore, the important role of a HR professional starts with understanding the customer. It's not that you have to spend enormous amounts of your time and effort, but at least you should be customer focused sufficient enough to be able to guide your employees. So you as a HR professional are now do have to take care of the customer, you have to take care of your employees, and you also have to take care of the employers, which includes the top management, the investors who spend money on the organization, who are constantly looking for return on investment. So therefore this is one category of investors, employers, top management. I'll put all of them into one category. Then there is a fourth important category that has emerged post-pandemic and also with the inventions in AI technology, and that is the community, where the organization is located, or the country and the socio-economic environment where the organization is serving or helping and so on. You cannot be insensitive to the surroundings. You have to certainly create good communities where employees can live a healthy life. So a good part of HR profession is also now focusing on community services or community development. It came in different forms. In some of the countries it is CSR, corporate social responsibility, where some governments have allocated certain percentage of the profits for highly profit making companies to be spent on the communities, community development and things like that. There are different forms in which community development takes place. Therefore, friends, the new role of HR is human resource development for multiple stakeholders, particularly 4 categories of stakeholders, starting with customers, going to the employees to make sure that they serve the customers well, and coming to the employers or top management who can formulate the right kind of policies and get the best of the people, and to ensure that there is value addition or profits that are taking place, and the community where the organization is located and people serve. Now these 4 things are going to be taken into consideration in the HR audit. They are all differential weightages in terms of the time you have to spend. Maybe you have to spend 60 to 70% of your time on employees, and maybe 10% to 15% time on the employers, and maybe another 10% of the time on customers, and maybe 5 to 10% of the time on communities. These are just indications. It may vary from time to time, it might depend. So in the new HR audit, we will be spending a little bit of time on the new role of HRD professionals as HRD missionaries. In addition, we also will be spending some time on auditing how you are responding to the technology. AI is a great boon, but AI also can be a great burden if you don't know how to use it. HR should direct AI, should make use of AI, should give a lot of guidance for the kind of AI that you need. I think HR has a long way to go in even formulating the basic premises that are required for AI to come up with any good interventions. For example, I think the basic nature of competencies required to perform given job. What can be allocated to machine? What cannot be allocated to machine? What is the importance of empathy, human relations, emotions, feelings, compassion, etc. I think these are all important things. They cannot be delegated to AI. I think as AI takes over our lives, the emotions, feelings, motivation, things that cannot be taken over by the machine become much more important. And therefore, the biggest challenge for HR professionals is to become more human and make every employee more human and treat customers with human touch, and also for the employers to be more human vis-a-vis the employees and the customers and so on. So there is a sea change in terms of the attitudes that are required. We will be constantly discussing, although there are no easy systems to measure and manage this, but I think sensitivity is very important. So, interface with technology, ability to use AI, the nature of AI that you require are all things that need to be considered in terms of HR audit. We will be examining during the program the kind of attitudes that are to be adopted by HR professionals and the importance of continuous learning. I think today we exist in an era where you have to constantly learn, and the inability to manage multiple generations. I think today in some of the organizations there are at least 4 generations of people. Those who were born Generation X, then Generation Y, and Gen Z, and maybe in some cases what was called as baby boomers. And maybe soon there will be also Gen Alpha that is coming into picture. 3 are common, but 4 may not be unusual, and all of them have different orientations. So therefore, biggest challenge is formulating policies and practices that will take care of the and create motivation and competence building at all these categories. One of the questions that are raised time and again is, have we crossed the time when uniform policies will take care of the employee competence building, commitment, and so on? I think maybe there is some truth in this. You probably need to have quite a bit heterogeneous policies to manage diversity that is required in organizations and make diversity as an asset in achieving organizational goals. So there are lots of changes I think we'll be discussing in the HRD audit program, how sensitive we are. We may not have solutions for everything. At least if we are able to articulate the issues well, I think that will help us in constantly evolving better and better methods of auditing and making our HRD more strategic and more beneficial. So we look forward from TVRLS, both Nandini and I look forward to seeing you all and having very productive kind of a time in the Certified HRD Auditors Program of CIPM. All the best, have fun and happy life. See you when we meet soon.